Hello everyone, I'm Yusef Jalali and this is Face to Face. In this edition, I'm going to walk you through one of the major bodies in the fabric of the Islamic Republic that's called the Guardian Council, which is celebrating the 40th anniversary of its establishment. Right now, I'm joined by the spokesperson of the Guardian Council, Abbas Ali Kadkhodaei. Welcome to the show. Well, to start with, tell us about the major responsibilities of the Guardian Council.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم بر اساس قانون اساسی جمهوری اسلامی ایران.
In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful. Based on the Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution, the Guardian Council is an institution that, according to Article 99 of the Constitution, supervises both the elections and the decisions made by the Parliament and the Council of Ministers. In addition to that, according to Article 98 of the Constitution, it is responsible for interpreting the articles of the Constitution. In some countries, it is done by judicial authorities, but in our country, the interpretation is done by the Guardian Council. Besides all this, since according to Article 4 of the Constitution, all laws and regulations must be based on Islamic criteria. If anyone has something against any article or has filed a complaint against a law or a decision made by a state or non-state institution and claims that it is against the Sharia, the complaint will be delivered by the Administrative Court of Justice to the Islamic law experts of the Guardian Council. In case the experts find it against the Islamic criteria, they'll notify the Court of Justice, and eventually the verdict by the Guardian Council's Islamic law experts is binding. So our daily responsibility is dealing with the referrals from the Parliament or the Council of Ministers. The Guardian Council checks them in terms of conformity with the Islamic criteria and the Constitution. During elections, the Guardian Council is also tasked with vetting candidates and supervising elections.
All right, one of the major responsibilities of the Guardian Council is to vet the candidates for any election, even the presidential elections. We have the latest election in Iran was the 11th parliamentary election. There are comments by some of the observers that the Guardian Council is practicing political inclination and is regarding political inclination as one of the elements of vetting the candidates. Is it so?
ببینید شورای نگهبان به هر حال یک نهاد سیاسی نیست.
You know, after all, the Guardian Council isn't a political institution. It is a legal institution, and based on the Constitution and other laws ratified by the Parliament, it is assigned with taking measures regarding elections. For instance, in the latest elections held for the 11th Parliament, the Guardian Council vetted the candidates. The authority comes from the law the Parliament itself has ratified. I mean, the conditions set for holding elections are approved by lawmakers in different terms. There are barriers like prohibition to stand for elections due to a judicial order or due to a criminal background. There are other barriers like having government positions that bar people from filing for candidacy. These are all mentioned in the laws ratified by the Parliament. The Guardian Council can't act outside this framework. We are duty-bound to supervise elections based on laws ratified by the Parliament. There are some conditions in place, like commitment to the Constitution, commitment to the Islamic Republic of Iran, being a Muslim, the age, educational background, and these are all mentioned in Article 28 of the election laws. If there are some barriers like legal conviction or being charged with fraud, those who are against establishment, those who had a role in solidifying the former regime, these are some of the barriers approved as election laws by the lawmakers. We are just executives who check these conditions against the people who register for elections. Obviously, no political framework is defined there. Obviously, no political framework is defined here. Our criteria are the documents different legal institutions send for us. If there is any evidence someone has committed a crime, we take measures based on the evidence. We also accept requests for revision and hear the objections. In case there are objections, we check them in different phases in a procedure stipulated by lawmakers. So, God forbid, we wouldn't be violating anyone's rights. But we are not a solely political institution, and we don't make decisions about people based on political mindsets. In presidential, parliamentary, or assembly of experts elections, we are expected to supervise. I think the Guardian Council's record during the past 40 years, take, for example, the presidential elections, or the parliamentary elections, or the assembly of experts elections. People have participated in them from different strata and different political spectra, and it will continue to be so. It's an accusation that doesn't have a valid basis.
Well, the Iranian parliament is comprised of 290 seats. In the latest elections, the 11th parliamentary elections, the majority of the seats were grabbed and occupied by the principalist candidates. And right now, the Iranian parliament is predominantly occupied by the principalists. Does this contradict your impartiality?
حالا شاید اینو با آمار دقیق اگر بخوایم تفکیک بکنیم پاسخ شما رو بهتر بتونیم ارائه بکنیم.
If we break it down based on accurate figures, we can come up with a more precise answer for your question. 75 people were disqualified for candidacy in the latest parliamentary elections. 75 people out of 300. But the number of the candidates people didn't vote for was over 100. It was about 117. The Guardian Council can't be held responsible for those who were turned down by the people. The number of those we disqualified based on law was 75, and we officially announced it. They also made objections, and we looked into their complaints. In the end, there were 75 candidates. Can the Guardian Council be held responsible while people turn them down? The political atmosphere in different rounds of elections is different. In the elections for the 6th Parliament, there was a dominant reformist atmosphere. In the next parliamentary elections, the atmosphere was different. I think the election of lawmakers or even the president is mostly influenced by the political mood during the elections. The Guardian Council can't be blamed for it. In the latest presidential election, there were candidates from different parties, but people voted for a certain candidate. Does this mean that the Guardian Council supported him in some ways other than officially confirming that he's qualified to run? Obviously, that's not the case. The Guardian Council doesn't pass any judgment besides the legal assessment of the candidate's qualification. Those who are qualified by the Guardian Council are equally the same for the Council. The rest is left to people to choose someone through ballot boxes.
All right, what we have ahead, the next election is going to be the presidential vote, slated for 1 year later, if I'm not mistaken. So how will you ensure a healthy and safe election?
من فکر می‌کنم بهترین تضمین اجرای قانون باشه.
I think the best guarantee is to execute the law. If anyone has any complaint, they can raise it within the framework of the law and we'll answer to it. Anyways, there are many cases of differences of opinion. In recent years, we have witnessed a heavy political rivalry. The best criteria for judgment in such cases are the laws. But anyways, laws have some shortcomings, and we hope the 11th Parliament will tackle the shortcomings and make amendments. Part of the shortcomings people raise is inherent in the laws and election laws. If amendments are made and the shortcomings are dealt with, only the laws can be the basis for the Guardian Council.
Well, the United States has imposed sanctions on some of the members of the Guardian Council. What is the main reason behind it?
این رو باید از خودشون بپرسیم. فکر می‌کنم یک کار احمقانه.
You would better ask them. I think it was something stupid they did, because the Guardian Council isn't engaged in business, trade, or any other activities with other countries. The fact of the matter is the US regime made another mistake, like its previous mistakes vis-à-vis the Islamic Republic of Iran. Our glorious commander, Lieutenant General Qasem Soleimani, was martyred this year. I heard the UN Commissioner announced that the US assassination was a violation of international law. Even though the UN announcement was too little, too late, an international body proclaimed that the US measure was unlawful and a violation of international law. Naturally, the sanctions imposed on Guardian Council members can be analyzed within the same framework. The Guardian Council has a legal duty and it is fulfilling its responsibilities. This is an internal affair. Basically, the UN Charter prohibits countries from meddling in the internal affairs of other countries. But Mr. Trump and his administration have shown that they don't abide by international laws. By what recently happened in his country, he showed once again that they are not committed to any human rights law. The Islamic Republic of Iran and its institutions, including the Guardian Council, act according to Iran's laws, and their actions are in complete conformity with the laws. I think it was a wrong move by Mr. Trump. It was an unjustifiable interference in Iran's internal affairs.
One of the major points that's made by the critics of the Islamic Republic is the existence of the Guardian Council in the fabric of the Islamic Republic. Why such a election watchdog should be established in the structure of the Islamic Republic, and is there a similar body in the political systems of other countries?
طبیعتاً در همه نظام‌های سیاسی شما یک نهادهای ناظر رو می‌بینید.
Naturally, in all political systems, you'll find a supervisory body. It isn't specific to the Islamic Republic of Iran. In France, for instance, they have the Constitution Council. It supervises the elections and ratifications. In the US, they have the Supreme Court. If someone claims that a law is against the Constitution, the Supreme Court can look into it and decide whether it really is against the US Constitution. If anyone has a complaint against the elections, judicial authorities will look into it. So the principle of supervising elections and the principle of supervising decisions made by different institutions are accepted by all political systems, but in different forms. In some countries like the US, a judicial institution is in charge of it. But in some other countries, like France or the Islamic Republic of Iran, an institution other than the three branches of power is tasked with it. It is an institution that is independent of the three branches of power, and it is responsible for supervising the decisions made by the parliament or the government. If you check different countries' constitutions, you'll realize that each of them have one of these methods to supervise their elections or laws.
The Guardian Council is marking the 40th anniversary of its establishment. What are your accomplishments so far?
به هر حال تلاش اعضای شورای نگهبان چه کسانی که
During the past 40 years, members of the Guardian Council, whether those who have passed away or those who are still alive, have always tried to fulfill their duties assigned by the Constitution. They have been making more efforts day by day, and they have tried to communicate more often with people to provide answers for questions and ambiguities. I think the title used in the Constitution for the Council, namely the institution that guards the Islamicness and Republicness of Iran, is its best achievement in the past 40 years.
Mr. Abbas Ali Kadkhodaei, thank you very much for being with us. All right, that's it for this edition of Face to Face. I'm Yusef Jalali. See you next time.